So we're ready to get started building the rudder, right, Steve?
Absolutely.
So what we have here from the factory is when you receive your rudder kit, you receive a packing list with all the individual items. They're checked off, packed and picked by who, and the description of the part, with part number. And you get 2 drawing pages. One is an exploded view of all the individual parts on the rudder, and the other assembly page is the assembly of the rudder. It tells you what size of rivets are required, bolts, the sequence, a little bit of everything. So you can build a complete rudder from the rudder assembly drawing. And then we do have a sequence page that tells you the sequence of how to build the rudder.
It's a good idea when you're building your rudder or any other part of the airplane to have your drawings out in front of you so you can see them, so you can always keep referencing your drawings.
Exactly, just like this. Maybe you might even want to laminate them or tape them down so they don't get blown away, and you're always referencing them to them.
Well, grab your Cleco pliers, because that's all you're going to need.
Clecos and Clecos pliers.
Yep.
So our first step is we're going to Cleco the doublers in place. We've got 2 doublers. Basically, the doublers are going to reinforce the spar. We're going to Cleco each end.
And again, the parts that we're using right now are straight off our shelves. You do want to check your parts for burrs. Occasionally you may have to do a little bit of deburring because we do use the high-speed router cable for making our parts. But on these parts here, we didn't have to do anything to them. We didn't have to deburr or anything. They're fine. They're ready to go.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually assemble the skeleton section, and then we're going to rivet the skeleton section. Now it depends on what part of the country or the world you live in. You might want to corrosion proof before you do this. And there are several options you can do that.
Now, just a couple of questions. You say skeleton, so that's the internal section of the airplane, is that correct?
Exactly, yes. It's
Spar and ribs.
Spar and ribs, and then the skins cover.
Skin will cover
okay.
the skeleton.
And then you mentioned corrosion protection. What alloy are we working with here?
We're working with 6061 T6, which has a lot of silicon in it, which is very corrosion resistant. So we live here in the Midwest. I keep my airplane in the hangar, so I don't corrosion proof anything anymore. I mean, it'll last 100 years.
If you live near salt water, if you're lucky enough to live on a beach somewhere, then corrosion protection would be a good idea. And at least the marriage surfaces. So we Cleco the doublers in place. Let's go ahead and grab these upper bearings. I think those are the larger rivets. Those are the A5s.
Now, how did you know where to put them?
Well, I've looked on the drawing here, this exploded view, and in my sequence, it's going to tell me to assemble the upper bearing.
And
plus, it's match drilled, so you know these holes, they fit, they match, so you know that's where they live.
so you really couldn't put them in the wrong place,
No,
could you?
no.
If we try to put a rib there, the holes are not going to line up.
And we designed it that way so you cannot Cleco one part to another spot, location.
We have engineered the ability to make a mistake out of the kit.
All right.
We'll see.
I'd say the next rib is the lower rib. I think this is called the lower rib. Let's see. We go to our exploded
Bottom rib.
view. We go to number 17. It's called the bottom rib.
When finished, the bottom rib will be held in place by A4 rivets, which is a number 30 hole, which require the copper Clecos.
So basically, from what I'm seeing here, you're not drilling, you're not measuring, you're just taking the parts and Clecoing them together. Am I correct?
Correct.
Exactly. Now what we're going to work our way up from the bottom of the rudder to the top with the next rivet and location. And as you can tell, there's no way I can locate this number 2 rib anywhere else besides its correct location. And you will need to look on the drawings to see which way the flanges face. They're facing down. All the ribs are facing down. rib here, so we got this rib. See, if we try to put it in this location,
Holes
won't line up,
Holes
and we have a
won't
lot
line
of
up.
gap. Wow, look at that. I couldn't even see the holes and it clicked right up. Okay, now I'm ready for the next rib, which is number 3 is rib number 4.
And I see the back of the rib here. It's kind of floppy this way. I guess it's the skin will determine the angle they sit at later on. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Yep. Now the skin is pre-drilled, matched to the ribs, so the skin will put the ribs in place.
Let's go ahead and put the nose rib on. And the nose rib, we look at our drawing, exploded view, it's in between the 2 ribs. And we're going to click it from the back side.
Again, if you try to put that rib in the wrong spot, the holes will not line up.
Look at that. Okay, so now we're ready for the tip angle, I believe they call it, in the top rib.
Yep.
And we have it's a little tip angle. It's an attachment bracket. Move these out of the way a little bit. And now I'm ready for
Tip rib.
tip rib. And you notice you can click the 2 holes here. These other 2 holes, they're tooling holes for when we press the rib in place at the factory to manufacture it. And I'll just put 1 cleco in because we're going to rivet it and I'll have to take a cleco out. So now we're just going to verify that all the ribs are in the correct location. Everything is secure. You have enough clecos that it's going to actually rivet nice and tight. There's no gaps. Looks nice. We do have the lower horn and the fairing left, but we're going to wait on the lower horn. That way it's not in our way working with it off the table.
And you're just following the instructions there, right?
Correct. Let's look at our instructions here. We're ready to start riveting the skeleton together.
Go ahead and get a good look at the skeleton. All that with no drilling, no measure tape came out, no marker, no laying out rivet lines. It's ready to rip.
And I need to look on my drawing, my exploded view, and see what size rivets to make sure. The spar and ribs are all A4 rivets. And then the upper bearings are A5, which are 5/32. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first rivet the A4s and then the A5s. Now a lot of customers ask, which way do I put the rivet? You always want the rivet on the thinnest side of the material, the head side on the thinnest side. Or if it's on the outside of the aircraft surface, you want the head on the outside. So we're going to place the rivets on the outside of the rudder. But on the bearings, we will rivet from the inside because we have a thinner surface area on that side.
This is always the fun part.
So I'm going to start from the bottom of the rudder. Let me bring it around here. These are called Avex Zenair blind rivets. They're a flush rivet. We machine the heads so they're countersunk, so when it actually pulls the rivet, it pulls and makes a nice dome surface so there's no gap between the aircraft surface and the rivet. You can use a hand riveter, but I like the pneumatic riveter.
Riveting is very simple. As long as your rivet is in good contact with your metal and your riveter is perpendicular to your part, all you gotta do is pull the trigger and the riveter does the rest. Or if you eat your Wheaties.
I know. There we go. Now we're on a roll.
Now, if we were going to put corrosion protection on our rudder, we would have done that right before this step here. When you're going to put corrosion protection on, you put it on right before your final assembly.
And again, here, because we're in the Midwest and we're using 6061 T6, there's really no need for it, is there?
We don't need it. I mean, our planes are stored inside. We're not anywhere near salt water, so we're good.
And, you know, a 6061, you know, outside of aviation, that's pretty much considered corrosion proof, isn't it?
Yes.
But if you do want to corrosion protect it, we do sell corrosion protection called Cortex. And it's a water-based product that you can either brush on or spray on. And
That's non-toxic, correct?
exactly. And what you're going to do is you're going to scuff up the surface with a Scotch-Brite pad, and then you're going to clean the surface with some kind of like lacquer thinner, alcohol, and then you can brush the product on.
So the riveting goes together pretty quickly, and I can see you're paying attention, but you don't really have to pay too much attention, do you?
No, it's you just want to make sure that the rivet head is flush against the aircraft surface, and that way you have a nice tight rivet on the aluminum. Now we're just going to rivet the front side of the spar. The side of the spar with the doublers, the skins are going to overlap, and they're going to rivet the skin to the spar too. If you don't want to rivet a certain area, or you're nervous that you're going to go around and just start riveting things, you know, use a black marker and write on there, "Do not rivet at this time," because you'll get in the routine and just start riveting, and then you'll have to drill out a few rivets, which is very easy.
Yeah. In the event you do have a bad rivet, they're easy to drill out and replace. Rule of thumb is, if you cannot get a fingernail under it, the rivet head has been set well enough.
Now I'm just going to remove my existing clecos. This is where it's nice to have somebody help you if you want to have them remove the clecos.
I think that was a hint, Steve.
Yeah. I'm here for moral support.
Right, and I think we're going to try to have Roger do most of the work, because essentially a lot of customers are doing this on their own, so we want to make sure that they understand that you really don't need a second person for most of the tasks.
Yeah, this rudder is so easy to build. One person can build it in a very short length of time.
And I haven't riveted the nose rib on, so what we're going to do is we're going to rivet the nose rib from the back side, because it'd be very difficult to get a riveter on the front side.
Again, the most important thing about riveting, make sure that rivet is set well against your material, and make sure that your riveter is perpendicular to your part. All the rivets that Roger is pulling right now are all A4 rivets. They go in the number 30 holes. You do have a few A5s down here on your pivot point, and you also have some on the horn, so we'll have to change the riveter for that. Now, if you're building at home, you have a single riveter, you just change the nose piece on your riveter to the different sizes when required.
Just unscrew it, screw it, and spray sizing. And you want to make sure when you're riveting that the stem falls out of the riveter, because they will jam up after time.
You're pretty fast with this, Roger. Have you done this before?
This is my first rudder. I built a few airplanes, yes. But it's not the experience I have that makes it easy. It's just an easy process with a new rudder. When I started here, you basically had to build all your parts, and now the parts are 100% finished for you.
Got a couple rivets that are a little tight, so we'll have to be a little a little more forceful with them.
So I'm going to use a hand riveter to rivet the nose rib in place because of the flange, spar flange.
And the hand riveter basically does the same thing as a pneumatic puller, right? It's just a hand tool, correct?
Exactly.
And you want to use your pneumatic riveter as much as possible. There's like 8,000 rivets in the airplane. And so you use the hand riveter when you're in situations where you're limited space. Because of course, the pneumatic riveter head is much larger.
Right, it's definitely a more compact unit, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Alright, got a few rivets off here. Yep, just going down the rudder.
Occasionally you do have a rivet that's a little tight. You may have to do a little bit of rattling. Don't give up on it, just keep working on it.
And the reason it's a little tight, sometimes there's a little burrs on the rivets. You don't see a burr on there, but some of them have little burrs on there, and that's what makes it so tight.
And if you just absolutely cannot get the rivet in the hole, you can always take a drill, not under power because you don't need it. You put it in the hole and just turn it by hand just to clean out a little bit of a burr.
Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and rivet my upper bearing.
Of course, the upper bearing is A5 rivet. So we have to change the nose on the hand riveter. If you buy a riveter from Zenith Aircraft, the nose pieces for both the pneumatic riveter and the hand riveter come already machined. Now, if you happen to have a riveter at home and you want to get the heads machined, you can send them in here to Zenith and we will machine those heads for you.
And the rivet in my left hand is the 1/8 inch rivet, A4, and the rivet in my right hand is a 5/32 A5. So we can use pneumatic on the center ones.
And how many pounds of pressure are you running for your
I think about
tool?
90 pounds.
90 pounds? So pretty much any compressor can handle that, won't it?
Correct.
When choosing a compressor for your build, the amount of storage is really the only thing you gotta think about. The more storage your compressor has, the less your compressor will run. You can use like a small contractor's compressor to run your drill or your riveter, but the more volume of storage you have helps keep it from running a lot and getting hot.
So you mean the larger the tank,
Correct.
the less the cycling, I guess, right?
Yes. Yeah, if you use a small compressor, the pump will run almost non-stop when you're doing a lot of riveting.
Like riveting the wings, the skins.
Yeah. Yeah, not so much on the rudder. The rudder's a reasonably small part.
This hand riveter is built built a lot of airplanes, and it's you can tell the spring takes several pulls. A new riveter, what, 1 to 2 pulls?
Yeah, two, maybe 3.
And now, if I recall, in the regular rudder kit, we actually only add these the upper and lower horns later on. So we're actually doing more on this CH750 Super Duty rudder, aren't we?
Absolutely. Not only that, the upper hinge point is pre-drilled, pre-cut for our customers. Previously, you would just get 2 pieces of extrusion and you had to drill them and cut them to shape yourself.
So this is the finished rudder assembly, the skeleton assembly,
The skeleton,
correct?
that's what we call the skeleton.
Wonderful.
It's
Oh,
done, it's ready. It's
so
ready
what's
for
next?
skin.
Well, we're ready to lay out our beams and then to start skinning our rudder.
Yep.
So we're going to lay this aside for now. Now we have 2 beams here. They're steel beams. We like to use steel beams or aluminum beams or something that's solid. Using wood beams, sometimes you'll get bows and twists in them. So we like to use something fairly that's going to be straight and flat.
But a builder at home, it'd be perfectly acceptable to use as just a flat 2x4 or something like that.
As long as it's flat and straight, yes.
You just don't want a big bow or twist in it, right?
Correct. And then we
The reason for the beams is so that when you have clecos in one side of your rudder, when you turn it over, you're not laying on your clecos. If you lay your part on clecos, it'll put a little smiley face bend around the cleco.
We have a block. This one's been designed for 24 millimeters. And the reason for the block is, if you notice, the bottom of the rudder is a lot wider than the top of the rudder. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep the rear of the rudder in line with the top. So we're going to position the block underneath the beams at the trailing edge bottom of the rudder. And you want to keep that block there through the entire process now until you have actually riveted the last rivet.
And you just got to remember that when you turn the rudder over to do the other side, you need to move that block and return it to the lower trailing edge.
And that makes sense.
So I have the rear rudder skin here. There is a proper way to handle it. You see the bent trailing edge here. What we want to do is we want to grab it from the other end, not the bent end, and let it just hang down. Don't grab it in the middle because you will develop a kink. And there again, you can check and see if you need to deburr anything. We'll check, run our hand in there.
And
Looks nice.
just like the other part, so the rudder skin is supplied just the way we see it now, and it looks like everything is final hole size, correct?
Exactly. Now all the writing in here, that is tells you the thickness of the material. Like that says 20 thousandths inch. It tells you what the material is, 6061 T6. You can remove all that or just leave it because it's on the inside.
And that's just ink, correct? It
Correct.
just comes off with lacquer thinner or anything like that.
Correct. I'm just going to position the skeleton inside the spar, or inside the skin. And probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to cleco the top section first, and then we'll cleco the bottom section.
Now, what's going on here? It looks like here in the corner we have a piece missing here. What's going on?
The reason this skin is cut this way is so that we can make this part out of a standard 4-foot wide, 12-foot long sheet of aluminum, because that's how we buy our flat aluminum. And then we have the skin patches, which are 2 pieces that will eventually go down here on the corner.
I see. So it's basically it's a 2-part rear skin for the rudder.
It's a 2-part skin, and the only reason it's a 2-part skin, again, is so that we can cut this part out on the standard sheets of aluminum that we buy for making our parts.
That makes sense.
And I've added a couple of clecos on the spar, but the nose skin is going to go over and rivet, so we do not want to rivet the nose or the spar at this time. We'll lift it up, put my hand underneath the skeleton, and I can move the rib to locate the holes in the rib. See if you all can see this here at home. So I've lifted up the skeleton, the section. I can move the rib to locate the holes.
And how do you know when you're in the right position?
Well, I'm going to look through the top and I can see the rib moving, and then I can see the hole, and then I'll just cleco it.
So
once you get one cleco in there, it's all going to start lining
so
up.
it's really self-lining that way, isn't it?
Yes. And you want to cleco about every third hole. You can never have too many clecos. It's just going to make more work for yourself. Okay, let's go to this one.
The clecos, of course, are holding the parts together to make sure they're good and solid. The parts all match up correctly. But you do need to, like Roger said, about every third hole, every other hole, if you want to really make sure it's set well.
Now this is a critical time. Even though it's all matched hole, you need to make sure you still have it on its beams and still have the block. You could actually clean all the holes and still get a twist. So you just want to verify that everything is set properly. I've seen customers, they'll have their skeleton like this. You just need to make sure that everything is still sitting properly on your table and on the beams. It's going together really nice.
It's very quick.
Now what we could do is we could either cleco the entire skeleton or the whole rudder together. Go ahead and cleco the bottom side, cleco the nose skin, or we could just start riveting the bottom and then flip it over and do our other side. It's really, there's really no advantage which way.
Because the kit is match drilled to finish size, that is an option.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and cleco the bottom rib here. And then we'll position the lower.
That'll go on acquisition.
Yep, that's right. And let's go ahead and flip it over and click our other side. Try not to set your assembly on the clecos. If you do, it could make a nice smiley face around where the cleco is located.
And again, don't forget to move your block.
See, we flipped it over, we moved our block. Exactly. We're going to put a couple clecos in the spar just to keep everything in line. Because I did take them off on the other side, so my assembly will sit nice and flat on the beams.
Now because the other side has been clecoed, your holes are lined up, so you don't have to do any alignment, you just put clecos in.
And because everything's match drilled, everything's kind of self-jigging, isn't it?
Yes.
It is, but just verify. If you run into an issue, back up just a little bit.
So in other words, you're saying if things don't align correctly or quite, it's probably because you're not holding it in proper alignment. Is that correct?
Exactly. Maybe you have the table that's moved, your beams have moved, or something. And worst case, we have one of the best tech supports of the industry. Give us a call. We're here.
Yeah, we're here all day long, 6:30 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. You can also email.
Okay.
Now, had we turned this over after we cleco one side and then turn it over, had we failed to move our block, then these holes on this side probably would not have lined up.
Exactly.
So if you have that kind of an issue, that's telling you that you've done something wrong and you just need to back up and pay attention to your steps.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the ones on the spar. And I think we'll go ahead and position the nose skin on the ones this side. This nose skin's already pre-bent, pre-drilled.
this top is cut out, trimmed for you.
Now what we might want to do is we might want to have it closer to the edge of the table because the bend here is very close.
You have no idea how hard it is for me not to get in there and do this.
And we want to make sure we click on the nose rib.
Again, the nose skin, just like the rear skin, is all match drilled to your nose rib.
Okay, I think I'll go ahead and get the lower skin section. Verify the holes are lining up.
And again, this is an area where because it's pre-drilled, it wouldn't fit. You put it in the upside down or wrong way, would it fit?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
So again, there's a lot of error checking built into that, isn't it?
Exactly.
Because I know this isn't your first rudder that you've built, but this is your first CH750 Super Duty rudder, isn't it, Roger?
It is, yeah.
And I don't see you looking at the instructions very much, but I assume that's because you don't need to, correct?
Exactly. I mean, the parts are only going to go in one position, one place. The only time that you might want to look at the manuals and drawings is for the correct rivet size or the bolt size, or maybe even, yeah, that would be it.
And again, a first-time builder, obviously they're going to want to look at the instructions a lot more, just to get the reassurance that what they're doing is correct, isn't it?
Correct.
Now, as you build, it's a really good idea to keep your drawings out on your table and keep looking at your drawings.
Now, we could go ahead and rivet this complete side, or I could go ahead and turn it over and click on the nose skin in place. Now there's advantages of both. If we go ahead and rivet this side, we don't have to keep on flipping and turning. The more times you handle a section, the more chances you could damage it. Scuffing it up, dropping it, etc. But if we go ahead and flip it over and we click on the nose skin in place, then we know that everything is going to fit properly. There's nothing that's got a twist in it. Then we don't have to back up and drill out a bunch of rivets. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn it over, click on that nose skin in place.
I like that.
So we just want to be very careful that we don't drop the assembly. I'm just going to stand it on the edge here. I'm going to move my block to the trailing edge. Make sure the beam doesn't fall on your foot. Grab the assembly. Still kind of hold it. I want to have the trailing edge just on the edge of it, just like that. We're close to the spar on this end. Okay. Now I'm ready to pull the nose skin over and click with the nose skin. Probably I'm going to click it to the nose rib first and then to the spar and work my way. Look at that. Click it right up. First time doing it. You could use duct tape, straps if you need help in holding it.
Certainly doesn't look like you need it.
No,
does
but
it?
some people, might need a little extra hand if you don't have somebody to help you, but you definitely don't need it. There's a lot of tension on it right now. You might have to click on every other hole or every second. And then when you get down to the end, then it gets easier and easier because the holes are starting to line up a little bit more. And take your click on, just massage them.
The nose skin is pre-bent, but it's not formed. So you do have to wrap it around a little bit. It does want to, you know, it's got that spring back to it.
See how I'm massaging the cleco? It's centering all the holes up. Even though it is a mashed hole, the clecos are sloppy. They're just holding the parts together pretty sloppy.
Together so fast, we can probably take it really light.
Then we might have to go flying.
I can do that.
Okay, so there we go. That's the lower skin. Now, if anything's not going to line up, it will be at this area because we're getting towards the end of the clecone of the parts. So far, it looks like everything's lining up.
Everything's all nice and tight together. Everything's straight. We know we don't have a twist in our rudder because we kept it on the beams and kept our block in the correct location.
Okay, maybe I'll move this cleco to that location. Looking good. And when we start riveting, we're going to start from the rear and work forward. In case we do have an issue, we can kind of back up. Either start with de-riveting or finding the problem. Let's put another one right here.
I think you're ready to rivet.
I think so too.
Looks good.
Okay, we're going to look at our drawing, see what size rivet is on the skin. You notice rudder assembly, the rear skin A4, pitch 40. Now pitch 40 is the distance between each rivet. And since it's a matched hole kit, it's already pre-done for you. You don't have to worry about pitch 40. But that's good knowledge to know. And then the nose skin is A4 rivets also. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start riveting the top of the rudder. And I'm taking just a regular sharpening marker. I don't want to rivet this section right here on the spar, this lower section. And the reason for that is it's the placement of the fairing. We're going to do that towards the end. So I just don't want to put any rivets at this time. And you can circle it, do not rivet, whatever you want to mark it as. The advantage of the bolt line rudder is that if you have more rudder authority, let's say you have 20, 30 knot crossing, you might have much more rudder authority than I do an aircraft with rudder stabilizer or surface area. Have ready, start ready. Make sure we have the correct rivet, the correct head. I'm going to start with the trailing edge. I got a swivel on the hose, which makes it really nice and even. It comes riveting, riveting, very simple. Make sure that you're riveting. If you're really riveting, make sure you parts. In the event that you would pull that trigger before your rivet is completely down in the hole of the skin, now very easy to do it in replace. You're not going to make a bad rivet hole, don't fail. We'll have to show them one time, not during the session, we'll make it another session. Drill out and replace the rivet. Because I have good feel, I'm not going to mess up. Oh, now I'm watching, as I'm riveting, I'm watching my trailing edge, making sure it's still staying straight, flat, not twist without me. If a twist starts to go, then I'm going to start backing up. Okay, now I'm going to remove all of the rear section. I haven't removed the nose skin yet. This here is the rear section first. Now, once you practice clean and ugly, you can participate in our clean contest for open house. It's always a fun event. And so here you're riveting just the rear skin, right, I'm just trying to get the rear, we point it, start riveting front, just work the right.
tolerances we use here to make our parts. You know, your skin will not wind up after working and a little bit of focusing with it. You always want to get it real tight and close it.
A lot of times having the rivet helps be helpful for weight on them. So
It's easier to push the rivet in with the rivet. Both sides of the skin, a lot of times work out a small thing. One place, you cannot get it.
So then what are you going to do to get the trailer? Put a tail light. We have a tail light bracket. So it's not, you don't need to replace your rudder. We're going to the lower skin. Right?
Don't get into a rush. I like the looks of the skin.
Yep. Lower skin.
It's there for a reason.
And the rest of the aircraft is going to be essentially just like
That's real to any size. You get a lot more plane to easy to actually make that hole a little stronger. That's why it's not done.
because you can have that angle. We're going to try to just clean the burn off. Just clean the rivet. We're going to go down here. And then we can do those. Alright, so we finished the rear scan. We'll proceed on to the nose scan.
Again, if you're working on a program like it's flat, those holes up in the ribs, you can hold that hole.
Now, if you notice, I'm starting from the center, and I'm working out one way. There's the end, we're into a new. I can work back up. If you're in practice. If you got to remember, this is a very small section, but you're developing a skill that you're going to use to build wings. The wings are 12, 13 wings too long. You're going to whip them up. Good effort. Ideally, probably better to start here. Get the legs to clean it. That's probably the issue.
Well, that is less and less important on that really keep the fix. You know, it used to be something stool, you had to get the lap, and really so how much brittle force open in the skin. But this is natural brittle. We're saying it's already to yourself.
Make sure you do all your rest hands. Don't forget, reposition our full block. Turn our head over. Make sure your body's ready for the head. We'll get your hands back there. Hands release across. We'll go from there. Let's go. Again, everybody has like to sit in on this. Yeah, you can rid of it. More likely to have to put it on this. It's nice to have to rid of this. That way you can make it different comes all the time. Notice how my rudder still lays very nicely on my beam. I still need it with no twist. When you screw them straight. Got the rudder here, kind of cool. STOL CH. Got the STOL one, you can see on beam. You can see 300 on that beam. And C-ring quarter shaker. That's where the indicator right and C-ring push. I have 2 more stops to push today. 1 second. Guys, can't make up to 30. We do all multiplication on shots. The other part, everything assist.
So, all practical purposes, the rudder assembly itself is done now, correct?
Correct.
And now we're just putting on the accessories, the bottom rudder bearing.
and then the fairing piece, and then basically we'll be really completely done then, right?
Correct.
And so these are the pivot points. This is the upper bearing, this is the lower bearing point here for the rudder, and then the rudder cables for steering the airplane go over here, correct?
That's correct. All right, now I want to make sure I have the correct air rivet with the correct head, which is an A5, which is larger than the A4.
If you have a single rivet at home, you simply change the nose piece.
You want to make sure the board you have positioned correctly. There again, look at your drawings. And now remove the clickers. Got last of it.
Not built inside, and specific part can be any bearing. And so it's simply legal place here.
The board is on. Now we're going to go ahead and position our lower fairing. Look at the drawing. Let's position one hole up from the bottom. Make sure we have it positioned correctly. I think it's symmetrical. Let's put it on the outside just to verify the holes. We're going to slide it on the inside. There we go. There's one hole. Just worry about one hole to click it first. There we go. There's the last hole. Okay. Those are 8/4. Back to the A4 right again. Yeah, you always want to just double check, especially when you pull the section on the outside. This is super important. Okay, so now we're ready to flip it over and flip it to the other side of the fairing. Now we're still trying to maintain the same pressure. Let's go ahead and move it. We're going to go ahead. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the pleat on the hole. So I can see the holes a lot easier on the outside. There you go. Now we clean those holes up. So we've been working on the rudder, what, an hour? A little over an hour. And once again, very straightforward. I haven't adjusted anything.
That's grill, finish on, everything comes up together. Help the next one up, 10 times more complicated. Yeah, all the grills and grill maker.
Even though you are built in an hour and a half, take it all day long. Take your time and enjoy it. We're going to enjoy it. That's it. So go through it and to see if we go the fastest. Just a second. Anyway, now you're changing the head from the A5 to the A4. The A4 is just a little bit smaller in diameter than the A5. This riveter is more one rivet, so it's taking about 3 to 4 holes. Typically, a brand new riveter is taking about 2 holes. Keep it nice and perpendicular to the surface. So, if you don't want to have the air compressor running, baby's asleep, the wife's trying to sleep, or the husband's trying to sleep, you can build it later.
It doesn't work, and we're like combine down, it can be done.
So we're all done, is it?
That's it.
All right, look at
I
that.
got a rudder.
Pretty good.
Good. Hold it up right. And again, it's completely finished. We've got the upper and the lower bearing installed, the fairing piece on it. Looks really nice. Looks really nice.
Put a tail light on, put your end number, paint it, polish it. Rivets in the upper bearing. Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool how we've taken a rudder assembly now where you can, with minimal tools, minimal skills, and just a few hours basically have a finished rudder assembly. And again, this isn't just this is a full vertical tail on the airplane, so it really does a great job. Got a lot done. All right, thank you, Roger. Thank you, Steve.
Good. Fun. Looks kind of like that.
It's like cooking at home. I cook, just clean it up.
Who built that one?